This is an ode to the people, the image bearers of the divine Father who have often labored with their stories untold and unheard. This is for those who have stood with or without titles, ensuring that everyone from babies to strangers heard the word. Today, a son honors and uplifts the Black woman. The church mothers, the missionaries, the teachers, the bakers, those who have birthed and raised change makers, yet history tries to mute them out. Today, we honor the Black woman who have served the Lord with love, strength, and yes, the power of prayer on bended knees. The daughters of the King who have always been the backbone of this thing. And this thing, y'all, is called the church. You remember from the old school soup kitchens to the choirs, to the white gloves, to the church hats that we've admired, these women know their worth. Women like Mahalia Jackson, whose sweet melodic voice could calm a worried Martin Luther King and get the nervous sweat to dry up that attempted to drip down his neck before he went and made his address. And speaking of Martin Luther King, we can never forget Coretta Scott King, who was the wind beneath King's wings whenever he shouted the famous phrase, "Let freedom ring." To the brave women like Nanny Helen Barrows, whose story can never be buried because she commissioned women to accept their purpose as missionaries. To Sarah G. Stanley, a Black woman born into privilege who used every ounce of her privilege to uplift the people and fight racism in the South. Y'all, she was a part of a movement. May we never forget that the Black church was a movement. That's right, the backbone of the civil rights movement, where Black women would be in prayer circles of sisterhood focused like a military unit. Totally engaged. Sometimes they were in the foreground, sometimes they were in the background, but y'all, who cares? All that matters is that God heard the sound of their prayers. The prayers of activist Prathia Hall, whose prayer uplifted the heart of Martin as he stood on the ashes of Mount Olive Baptist Church that was burned down to the ground. Those like Georgia Gilmore, whose meals financed the Montgomery boycott. Her story can never be lost, just like all the beautiful Black women before her and after her that paid the cost for the scope of the gospel to be a little bit more clear to see. We feel the legacy. We see the legacy of the Black woman, from the church to civil rights leaders, to greeters, to the gospel teachers, to the deaconesses, to the ushers. And yes, they handle the music too. They even teach your kids in Sunday school how to love God and even how to tie their shoe. They serve the pastors, the community. They design graphics and host events. And wisdom is often dripping from their words when they give their 2 cents. What am I telling you? I'm telling you, without the Black woman, this thing would be a mess. Not just on Sundays, but every day, because of the role that the church played in freedom. So if there is a Black woman in this room that feels like her story is lost, this moment is an attempt to redeem them. You need to know that today you are seen, understood, blessed, valued, and your sons and daughters are grateful. Because with every meal, we know that you served a plate of truth to teach us unity in a world that's hateful. So today, we take a moment to say what history has often overlooked or written out. Yes, what the world and the church should be talking more about. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the Black woman who has paved the way so that we can all stand tall. Because y'all. I have personally seen the power of a Black woman with my own 2 eyes that encapsulates them all. She's a mother, a daughter, a wife, a ministry starter. Like Mahalia Jackson, her sweet melodic voice could soothe the preacher. Like Coretta Scott King, she was the calm breeze when the preacher was eager. Like Nanny Helen Barrows, her story cannot be buried either. Like Sarah G. Stanley, this woman held the church accountable to let the gospel move forward, even if it came from a black preacher's lips. Her prayers, like Pathia Hall, kept our ministry safe from the enemy's grips. And just like Georgia Gilmore, when I heard the kitchen sound as a son, I knew it was about to go down. So last, but certainly not least, we must pay homage to the original deaconess, the original usher, the original choir director, the original children's ministry worker, church cook, women's leader, song singing, piano playing, OCBF all-time church mother. Yes, a black woman who has done it all and has joined the other black woman proudly with her Savior in heaven. I must end this thing with one last great name, a black woman named Lois Evans.